right. So welcome to Vince Real Talk. No hellos from TJ. Okay, fine.
Hi.
Hello. All right.
Coffee kicking in.
The coffee kicking in. Yes, we are up earlier than normal. Welcome, world. You exist before 11 a.m. All right. So today's episode, number 6 of season 2 on Events Real Talk, is all about the CMP or Certified Meeting Planner. For those of you who don't know what that is, shame on you if you don't. I'm going to be discussing what the process was like for TJ getting her CMP, prereqs, materials, studying, testing, CMP retention, etc. All the ins and outs.
Spill it,
TJ, spill it. All right. So tell us, what is a CMP besides what I just said?
It's a Certified Meeting Professional certification.
Listen, smartass. I just said other than what I just said. Come on now.
So it's this very lucrative certification for meeting planners. It's I don't know, sponsored, is that the right? Hosted, put on by, regulated by the Events Industry Council.
Okay, you're all over the map on that.
The coffee just kicked in.
Yeah, sort of.
Dutch Brothers.
Shout out.
So basically, the Events Industry Council has the industry standard for the ins and outs of events for meeting planners, like what the role is, everything you need to know. There's like 17 areas that you get trained in.
For example,
sorry, I just had a brain fart. Like, woo.
Triple
for
shots
example,
not kicking in.
Like strategic planning, project management, risk management, financial management, human resources, stakeholder management, site management, marketing, professionalism. I mean, there's just all of these.
How many classes in professionalism did you have to take?
It's like 5 pages. It's fine. It's like 1% of the testing score, so you're fine.
Shit, it should be like 75%.
No.
Yeah, because then we'd fail, right?
Yes. Yeah, there would be like, you retake the exam as many times you want, you're still gonna fail. So yeah. It's pretty intense. Obviously, like, it's a certification, it's globally recognized. So they're pretty hardcore. They don't really give you a lot of study material, but everything that they give you is very condensed, so it's thorough to a point, but you really have to understand. And for a learner like me, I have to be able to apply it to retain it.
Yeah, like a hands-on learner.
Yeah.
Which I feel like most event planners are hands-on.
Yeah.
So explain to me what the process is for applying for it.
So you apply.
Well,
okay. All right. Yeah. Calm down. Okay. So you have these prerequisites that you have to meet in order to even be considered, right? Like, if you don't meet these requirements, don't even spend the money to apply, because they're going to kick it back to you.
Yours get kicked back?
No.
Oh.
Been doing this a while. Made it look like I've been doing this a while.
Yeah, I mean, that's my question. Like, you've got these prereqs. Do they call on anything, or do they just take your word for it?
I mean, I assume they look into it.
How long? Okay, so tell us what the process is for applying, and then tell me how long before you found out you got accepted.
Okay. So basically you have 3 options for career experience. I don't know what they call it. So 36 months full-time work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or 24 months plus an industry degree. or 36 months as a teacher.
A
As an
teacher?
Yeah. So teaching classes, having to do with the industry, which I feel like would automatically mean that you have a degree.
Well, yeah. So that was going to be my next question. So if you do the teacher route, the academic end of it, do they have to be teaching all their classes have to be within the event industry, or is it just an academic professional?
All of the classes have to be in one of the
16 categories,
yes.
17 areas, excuse me.
Yes.
So basically you could be teaching business classes for however many months and you could apply for, so that's kind of okay.
Correct. Well, because a lot of it has to do with management. I mean, yes, there are some areas that have to do with event specific things like the AV technology, booth setups, catering, those types of things. But I mean, really, when you're looking at the industry as a whole, it's a lot of management. It's managing people, it's managing vendors, it's managing stakeholders. I mean, it's a lot of management.
So I still
Okay.
has questions.
Nobody can
Still-
hear your head rattle.
No, I know. Some people will eventually see my head rattle. No, something about that seems a little odd, but okay. Moving on. Okay, so you applied for this. How?
So you also have to have
Sorry.
clock hours, like doing the webinars, doing the classes, going to conferences, and things like that. So you got, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Okay.
Okay. So I applied. It's a $250 application fee, but it can be offset because they have 3 scholarships you could get that cover the application fee, like the Timothy S.Y. Lamb Foundation, Midwest Meetings, ADMEI. You basically write them, a paragraph of, hey, this is what I want to do. You send them a resume, they pay for it.
Okay. Did you get a scholarship?
Yeah, I paid for the application fee. Do you remember nothing?
Look, I remember lots of things, but here's the thing. Our listeners don't know the process.
Oh.
You started this like 2 or 3 years ago. Yes, 2 years ago. 2 years ago. When we lived upstairs instead of downstairs.
I don't know.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Know.
Yes.
I don't know. It's like March 35th right now. I don't even know what you're talking about.
So. March 35th of 2000 and what's the year anymore?
Doesn't matter.
So I do remember, yes, I remember this, but like I said, our listeners don't know about this. So, I'm gonna need that coffee to kick in like real soon.
Yeah.
You
with
too?
The program. No, I'm good. I'm good.
No.
Thank you. Thanks, Dutch. Oh, yeah, her. Yeah. So I applied. It was maybe 2 weeks before I heard anything.
All right.
Yeah. So that's why I feel like they check stuff, right?
I can't imagine, because if the application process happens anytime throughout the year and you can apply at any point, and there's no like actual application deadline.
True.
Okay.
So there's no.
Well, let me just put it this way. They didn't call me to find out if you actually work here. So.
Aw.
Yeah. So I don't know how much checking they really do. I feel like they take your word for it. It's an honor system type thing.
I mean, they might, but if you're going in and you don't have experience in the industry and you're trying to get this degree, I mean, you're going to be hard pressed to pass it, unless you're just one of those people that just like absorb information, like can read it and now you know it.
Man, that would have helped me a lot in school.
Yeah. So $250 application fee. You have scholarships that you can apply for to pay for that. And then it's like $475 to take the exam.
Ooh.
Which is a lot.
Each time?
No.
How many times you get on that $475? 3?
No, it's one time, but it's not $475 to retake the exam.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you take your CMP exam
Mhm.
Cost you $475. If you don't pass it the first time, then what?
Then you got to pay to retake it.
That's what I was just asking. So you
Yeah,
pay
but you don't pay
$400
the $475, but I don't remember what it was. That'd
So
be a
it's less than that.
it'd be a financial question.
Yeah, wait. No. So you
Like,
take it.
That's
so
above
you
my pay
take-
grade.
So if you take it again, oh my God, it's not above your pay grade, jackass. You're the one that actually took the fucking exam. Come on now, get your shit together. All right, so $475 for the first exam. If you have to retake it, we'll say it's probably about half, I would assume.
Okay.
We'll call it that. If not, I'm way wrong. You can look it up. We'll link it below. Blah, blah, blah.
And they don't list it because I don't think they want you to retake it again.
Well, yeah, absolutely not. Who wants you to take it again? But all right, so tell me what you did. Oh my God. Tell me what you did as far as the studying goes, because you did participate in a free one-time CMP study course, right?
Yeah, but that's later on. So what I first started with was a CMP class that was online. It was a live class, but she also posted the recordings. And she's basically just like, she was an event planner. She, had a lot of years under her belt, took the CMP exam, and then they tell you after all of this, they offer you like, hey, you should teach this class or teach a class. So that's what she had been doing, and she had been doing it for several years. And it was interesting because you can you network with people and you can set up study groups and stuff. However, while I found it a little bit helpful, it wasn't super helpful because again, I mean, it was an hour and a half long class once a week.
So you did this for 6 weeks, right?
Yeah. And so it was super intense and heavy on the learning. But if you're having to take it at 5:30 at night and you're like me, you got a kid, you got a house, like you can't just study, which was the nice thing about everything being recorded and you could still watch it. But then you missed out on being able to ask the questions and being able to partake in the activities that she had. So that was a little.
So with her taking, I mean, she's been doing this for several years, and with her taking the CMP and going through the whole process herself, like when you took the exam, how helpful do you think that course was? Like, was it actually on track with what the exam, questions and things like that? Like, you feel like you got enough out of that 6-week course or no?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't find it super helpful because everything I did find helpful, like tips on test taking, because I'm not great at test taking, I found free on YouTube because they have little mini courses that might be 20 or 30 minutes of somebody who has taken the CMP, has taught classes, does 30-minute segments on like, hey, when you test take, these are the way the questions are going to be phrased. If you're reading a question and something just automatically doesn't make sense, like it's obviously not going to be that because these questions have been tested and edited and tested and edited constantly. So I did not find that class helpful. The books were helpful. You get the CMP handbook, CMP International Standards, the Events Industry Council Manual, the Professional Meeting Management Edition number 6, not 5, 6, which will probably change. And then the Apex. So again, I mean, the CMP handbook and the Professional Meeting Management were almost exactly the same information. In the PMM book, like the catering was different, because they listed Russian buffet and English buffet and French serving and Russian serving and like different styles of plateds and,
It's international.
Yeah. Whereas the CMP handbook was kind of like, hey, you got a buffet and this is what you typically use.
It's truly Americanized. It's
Yeah.
dumbed down.
Basically.
Less eloquent.
The CMP handbook was a little bit heavier on like the marketing, where they listed out by week everything that you're supposed to be doing to market an event, and we're going like a big event, not like a, hour-long conference or speaker. But if you're going to do a floor show or a trade show, you're going to have a lot of vendors coming in and out. How do you need to market that for a music festival? Like, you're 36 weeks out. What do you need to be doing?
Preparing the baby room. If you're 36 weeks along and you haven't prepped your baby room, get started. You're behind.
What are you supposed to be doing 24 weeks out from the event? Apparently you're supposed to be sending lots of advertisements and emails.
Look.
And everything should be finalized.
See, I want to know who puts these books together. Are they truly like event planners or meeting planners, whatever, or are they just people who work in marketing? And this is what you should be doing, because the marketing aspect of events drives me bonkers. Too many flipping emails. Too many.
Yes, I can agree with that, because I've registered for webinars where I register and you send me an email. And then the webinar might be next week, but now I've immediately gotten an email that says, hey, don't forget your classes next week. Like, yes, I just registered for it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
all the time. I attended one yesterday and I signed up for it 3 weeks ago and I have gotten 15 emails about it. And one right yesterday that said, don't forget an hour before your thing starts. And then the day before that, I got 2. Like, it's overkill.
That's a lot.
If you send me an email to add it to my calendar, it's on my fucking calendar.
Yeah. And I mean, I could see sending like the day before, because I have definitely forgotten about classes that I've signed up for.
Yeah.
But that's a lot. 15 is a lot.
It's insane. Yeah.
So study materials. You get all that. You have different classes. Like I said, YouTube was a great help for me, especially when I was like trying to because I knew my weak points. I knew what I wasn't going to remember, right? Like, I didn't need to review the AV stuff because like I'm pretty good at remembering those things because I've had hands-on practice.
Right.
But something else that helped was they had practice exams through Prometric, which the Events Industry Council has listed on their website. I don't know, it's like $25 for a practice exam of like 60 questions. And that was helpful because then I could actually see how the questions were being phrased.
Yeah.
And so that was good practice for me. And
so
then
I has a question. The good practice. So I remember a fun story when you were studying for all this. Before you were going to take, I think it was right before you were going to take your practice, or it was either right before or right after you took your practice exam, where you conveyed your frustrations with remembering catering equations.
Yes, it's terrible. Well, because, okay, in the books, obviously they have catering. We mentioned they go over buffet and stuff, but you have these equations where if you have an all-day event, how much coffee do you need to serve or do you need to have available for consumption if your group is mostly men or mostly women, or if it's mixed, or how much soda do you need to have? How much tea do you need to have? How much decaf coffee? There's an equation for everything.
I feel like that discriminates a little bit. Why can't you just do it as a whole?
Well, yeah, I mean,
I'm kidding. I know, because when you do a buffet and there's men, they're going to eat more. I get it.
Yeah, for the buffet, but like coffee, their equations were messed up because their equation had men drinking more coffee. And I'm like, since when?
Depends on age bracket, I would think. I mean, that's how Dunkin' Donuts came about, right? Men smoking cigarettes, dunking their donuts in their or was it because of cops? I don't even remember. I'm just guessing. Throw that one out there. No. God, the blank stare.
I don't drink Dunkin' Donuts.
I don't either. I just mean like how it happened. Yeah, Dutch Brothers, we got it. Okay. So the thing that I find frustrating about that is, I guess if you're ordering like, okay, so for example, if you are just going to order the coffee thing from Dunkin' Donuts, or you go to Starbucks or any other coffee shop, as you know, Dutch Brothers, as you keep saying, but your caterer should be able to help you through that.
Mhm.
I don't
Oh,
feel
100%.
like, so if you're not in catering and you're doing this as a certified meeting planner, yes, you should know you should know a little bit about a lot of things. You should know every aspect of what you're doing with the event. However, when you hire a caterer to do your event, that is their responsibility to make sure you have enough food and beverages for the people attending your event. It's their job to figure out demographic, how to help you. So I think that's kind of bullshit to make you remember equations. Okay, it's not geometry in 8th grade or my, freshman year of high school where I almost failed. Like, I don't do equations, I don't remember that shit.
Well, exactly. And that was my frustration with it, because not only do you have those equations to remember, you have to know, oh, if you're setting up a projector in a room, how far does the projector have to be away from the screen? If the room is like of a certain size, like, okay, well, if I'm renting a room that doesn't have a projector in it, I'm gonna find a different room. Or whoever I'm renting the facility from is going to set up the projector, and then they should know how far away it needs to be. Or I've outsourced the AV because I don't own a projector.
Right.
To set it up. And
Like
they should already know. Like, it's that whole thing. If you don't like doing something, outsource it. I mean, I feel like it's kind of the same aspect of why do I need to remember that? Or if you're setting up a trade show, you have to know how big the booths are. Well, I'm renting the booths from a company. They are going to come and set them up. So that's on them.
Sort of.
Right?
Well, you also have to decide how much space you're going to get. So like if you're going to do a booth, like I actually get the booth aspect of like if you're doing a trade show. So like if you're going to set up booths to where they have like a 6-foot table in their booths, you want the booth to be a little bit larger so there's room for them to move around, or do you want the width to be, but they're going to give you those options and they are going to set it up.
Yeah, but the vendors that you've gotten will tell you what size booths you need, because you're going to have options that you've given them before they've even decided to come, like in their vendor packet.
Correct.
So they're going to choose that. You just have to already have a room layout.
Right. No, I agree with you.
And if you're putting up a room layout, you have a program that you've used to do a layout that will tell you what will fit in the space.
Yes and no. I mean, think about before we started using things that have square footage in the diagrams, like we were guesstimating. Sort of. You were being trained on experience, and then we started using software that allowed you to actually input the square footage.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I mean. Like, there's software out there that somebody can use.
Absolutely. Yes. Or the facility should be able to give you that.
Shazam.
So just based on listening to this, I feel like the book is slightly outdated. What they're teaching is an outdated version of what's truly happening. Now, I'm wondering moving forward with the CMP if they'll start including hybrid information, because now
they did.
Yeah, but I mean on a much more heavier scale, since we're going to be leaning a lot more towards virtual and hybrid in the near future. That's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah. Oh, well, one more thing for the studying. Let's double back on that. I did do what was it, like a
MPIs?
Yes, I did MPI's CMP masterclass, and I was one of the people that was chosen as a trial run to see like how good the class was. Don't do it.
Yeah.
It's the same as the first one. It doesn't really
not helpful.
Not helpful. As far as like including hybrid event stuff, they did have things for the different types of events, and kind of did a very small section of what all like a hybrid event entails. But it didn't cover virtual guest attendance, engagement, and things like that. So I feel like that would need to be an entirely separate certification because there is so much information.
I got one.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as EIC goes,
I know,
the
but
Events
they
Industry
should-
Council, but
Yes, and they can partner with somebody who is able to, who already has the infrastructure to get that certification and partner
Yeah.
with them. And even use them for some of these CEs.
what's a CE, Sarah, for people that don't know?
Continuing education credits, Jesus.
Good job. But yeah,
Fuck you. Fuck
so
you.
it's, I think it's, they should. And I mean, obviously, we've talked about it before. There should be an industry standard for what things look like, for what is provided.
Right. But there's not, I mean, there's not a one-stop shop.
No, there's not. But I mean, as far as like, oh, if you're going to do a hybrid event, don't forget about your hybrid. Like, don't forget about your virtual guest experience, because that's super important.
We're going to find out if it got better. Well, we're going to find out in June if it gets better. We'll report back and we'll let you know. So tell me, have you found out anything about the contract updates? Have they included anything for the risk mitigation because of COVID? Are they doing anything?
I emailed. I haven't heard back.
Okay.
I was told by the lady that taught the first class that she would be very surprised if there wasn't an update in contracts for pandemics. She's expecting one, so we should also be expecting some sort of update.
Yeah, but it can't just be pandemics. I mean, there's so many other things that can affect a lot of these things. I feel like they need to spend more time talking about force majeure, because a lot of people still don't understand how that process works.
Act of God.
No, I know, but to many, they thought COVID was an act of God.
Nope, man-made.
Yes, but that's what many were basically trying to fight on with the force majeure. They were trying to piggyback off of something that was, an act of God, which really they should just basically indicate weather, because that's really what it was for the longest time until now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like it's still just weather. Force majeure doesn't cover any sort of medical anomaly, because
no, but what I'm saying is
it's man-made.
Yes.
I mean, unless it's like that movie, that M. Night Shyamalan movie where the trees are blowing and the pollen's killing people, like that's force majeure.
I don't know what movie that is.
Oh, it had not Matt Damon. What's that other guy's name?
Was it Tanner's favorite? Matt Damon.
Yeah. Was Matt? No.
Was it? I don't know.
Anyways.
Okay.
Other people know what I'm talking about.
But I feel, do they? Because our peanut gallery sure as hell doesn't know.
Well, she doesn't watch scary movies. It was
she
like
don't
a
watch
thriller.
Movies in general.
It's a thriller.
Thriller. Okay.
Thriller.
Yeah, I was actually just about to start singing. Yikes. All right. So what is the CMP retention like? So you've taken the exam, you've passed your exam. Now what do you have to do to retain it?
Stay up to date on webinars that are CMP accredited. They usually have the little CMP stamp at the bottom. To earn your credit hours for your continuing education, because you need 25 clock hours, which really isn't a lot, every 5 years.
Oh, that isn't a lot at all. I was thinking it was every year.
No, it's 25.
So do you retake the exam then in 5 years? Or how often do you have to retake your exam?
Yes. The CMP is good for 5 years.
Interesting.
Which I feel like by the time 5 years comes around, you should have to retake the whole exam, because everything's going to be different.
Is it?
I mean,
what you've been
like
telling
the
me in
pandemic
the book
stuff and the hybrid stuff, like all of those things should be updated, whether it takes them longer than 5 years. I don't know.
Well, there'll be a first edition, and by the time you get to the 6th year, there'll be a 10th edition.
And who knows where I'm going to be in 5 years.
I might not want to do this shit anymore. Okay, so
events could be all virtual, 3D, like headsets, like in Player One.
Second Life, yeah, in Player One. I did like that movie.
It was a good movie.
Yeah, it was. Okay, so what is one thing that you wish that they would do differently in regards to the CMP?
The testing. Because when I know it's because of COVID, they had switched over to doing online testing. It was terrible, horrible. Bless Prometric's heart, they did not have like the tech support. They didn't, I mean, the lady couldn't get my ID to focus when I showed it on the camera. And so she was like, oh, sorry, you can't take the exam. Yeah. So I had to call and reschedule it, which thankfully they didn't charge a rescheduling fee, which they would have. Well, it says in their little tiny writing.
Did you say print. Tiny? Okay.
Tiny writing, the small print.
I like said Heine. I was like Heine writing.
That they can charge like a $75 rescheduling fee if you schedule less than 24 hours before your testing date.
Yeah, well, when there's a technical difficulty, the better.
Yeah, well, it took me like an hour to get a hold of anybody to tell them what was going on. I had to email them, had to chat. I mean, it was terrible. And then I ended up being able to take the exam, and then of course failed it because I was like, blood pressure's up to here. Like, it was terrible. But then we weren't charged for the retake.
Yes.
Because of everything that happened. So, I mean, I feel like it was poorly executed. I would have done much better testing in person, even though testing in person is still on a computer. Like, you're in a space, right?
Yeah. So, okay. So playing off of that, what's your biggest takeaway from this whole experience? Would you recommend the CMP? Okay, biggest takeaway, and would you recommend the CMP? Or do you think there's other things out there that are more?
I don't know. I feel the CMP is good to have because when I tell people like, oh yeah, I got my CMP, everybody's like, ooh, like it's super fancy, right? So I feel if you're going for like recognition from other meeting planners.
So basically, if you give a shit what other people think about you, get your CMP.
And I'm not saying that it's bad. I mean, it's good information to have. I learned a lot. As far as how much I actually use, I mean, that's debatable.
Well, you also have to consider we were in the middle of a pandemic by the time you finish. So,
well, yeah,
it's going to be a while before you see the return on your investment.
My biggest takeaway is that I don't ever want to do marketing ever. I also feel like somebody that's following one of those like week by week calendars would have that printed out poster size, if you're using it fairly often and you're like, oh, we're planning.
You can't tell Jamie, like she's going to take offense to all of this.
No, clearly she knows what she's doing. Okay. But somebody like me, if I were getting into marketing, I'd be like, I'm gonna need a poster of that hanging in my office.
Can I have a Venn diagram, please?
Because I mean,
you'd be using wall calendars.
Yeah, like the size of the wall.
Yeah. Like the chalk wall, you just go in there.
I mean, it definitely created a newfound appreciation for marketing because that's a whole different beast.
Yeah, I tried to post something yesterday on our Instagram account. And it took me an hour to design something, and then I didn't even post it because I was like, "Fuck this shit, I'm over this for today." And then I'm like, "Well, does this look right? Does this flow right? Is this the right color?" Da, da, da. And I'm like, "I don't like this. I don't like being confined."
Yeah, why do you have to? I mean, you were posting for ERT?
Yes.
Why does it have to flow for anything? It's ERT.
I know, but because it is ERT. So it didn't flow and I did what I wanted by impulse. And, but it's like, it's not my thing. I know that when designs and marketing things come to me, I have lots of opinions about them, but as far as creating it from scratch, yeah, no, I don't want that job.
Does it look pretty?
It did.
There you go. Was that the one I saw?
Probably the one
like
about
the brick, the red and the blue and the purple.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that one.
All right, cool. I did good.
I was like, it reminds me. Did you say you didn't do it?
No, I said I did good.
Oh, you did do good.
Did. Sure, I fucking did that.
You did do good.
It took me an hour. And we even use a program that does most of it for you. Clearly I'm qualified.
Yes. But it was pretty. I was like, oh, look, that's all like grungy. Like, I
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I tried.
And getting all the phone calls.
All the calls. All right. So to wrap up, your CMP is worth it. Do it if you really want to move in this industry beyond working on a facility get your CMP. It is something that is very prestigious, I guess you could say, in our industry for others.
Word.
Huh?
That's a good word.
I try. Sometimes I gotta dig deep, but I got them.
Yeah. I said, especially if you're going to do international stuff, because they covered like VAT taxes and like what you can and can't take into countries, like,
Yep.
Like the bribes you're supposed to give, but we don't call them bribes.
Yeah, so it's a well-rounded. I feel like at some
Definitely.
point they should have more in-depth certifications that get you on a specific track for what portion of the industry you want to be on. And speaking of, next time on ERT, you are going to hopefully listen to our discussion on the CVP, which is the Certified Venue Professional, and the process of attaining that through the International Assembly of Venue Managers. It used to be management. I think it's managers now. Fuck, I don't know. IAVM, we'll roll with that. I have my membership and I don't know what it stands for. So anyway, so yes, we'll be discussing that, the pros and cons and my frustration with when they started to do that after some things. But anyway, okay, so thank you for joining us today. Thank you, TJ, for enlightening us on the CMP. We appreciate it.
Anytime.
And yeah.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on Events Real Talk. Make sure to visit us at Events Real Talk on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where you can subscribe to us via YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. So you'll never miss an episode.
While you're at it, if you enjoy the show, leave a review or comment, or if you'd simply tell a friend, that would help us too.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.